So what happens when you push a major blockchain to its absolute limit? I'm not talking about a simulation. I mean a real-world, high-stakes market meltdown. Today, we're going to break down Solana's ultimate stress test, a single day that might have just changed the whole conversation around blockchain scalability for good. Get this. On this one day, the Solana network hit an absolutely incredible peak of 100,000 transactions per second. Now, just to put that into perspective for you, that's more than 4 times the peak capacity of the entire Visa network. But you know, that number, that's only half the story. Because what makes this story truly wild is the context. This wasn't some planned test in a lab. This speed happened right in the middle of a chaotic $500 million liquidation event. So the real question is, how on earth did it not just survive, but actually thrive under that kind of intense pressure? To really get what Solana pulled off here, we first have to understand the sheer chaos it was up against. This wasn't just, a bad day on the market. Some people were calling this the Great Liquidation Event. Okay, so picture this. The date is October 11th, 2025. The crypto markets are basically in a free fall. We're talking about a day of extreme volatility, the kind that seriously tests the foundations of any financial system, whether it's old or new. And here's the scale of the crisis we're dealing with. In just 24 hours, almost $600 million worth of crypto positions were liquidated. I want you to just imagine this massive wave of forced selling and trading all hitting the market and the blockchain underneath it at the exact same time. It's absolute madness. So what caused this perfect storm? Well, it was really a mix of a few things. Bitcoin was correcting after a recent all-time high, which always shakes things up. Then you had rumors swirling that major institutions like BlackRock were selling off their holdings. And all of this pressure was being funneled directly into DeFi protocols built on Solana, like Serum and Radium, forcing them to process an absolutely insane volume of transactions. Okay, so the stage is set, a market in total chaos and a fire hose of transactions aimed squarely at Solana. Now let's get into how the network actually held up under fire. The real unsung hero of this whole story is a piece of tech called the Agave validator client. Now, in simple terms, you can think of it as one of the core software engines that validators on the network use to process all those transactions and keep things secure. And on this particular day, its performance was absolutely crucial. And the numbers really show just how critical it was. The Agave client handled 6 times the normal peak traffic. It was processing 60 million compute units per block, which is basically just a way to measure the network's raw workload. But here's the picker, the most important part. It did all of this with zero, and I mean zero, performance degradation. The entire network stayed stable, no downtime, no major glitches, nothing. And hey, you don't have to just take my word for it. The core developer team, Anza, they confirmed it themselves. They said, and I'm quoting here, the network experienced the largest stress test in its history, and it was able to stay stable. I mean, that's a huge validation coming directly from the people who built the thing. So this performance is obviously impressive on its own, but to really grasp how big of a deal this is, we need to put it in context. Let's take a look at how Solana stacks up against the competition. And wow, this chart pretty much says it all, doesn't it? You've got Solana way out in front at 100,000 transactions per second. Then compare that to Visa, a global payments giant, at 24,000. And then you look at its main blockchain rival, Ethereum, which tops out somewhere around 30. The difference in scale here is it's staggering. And if we broaden our view a little, this table just hammers that point home. Even when you bring in another really high-performance blockchain like Avalanche, which, by the way, clocks in at a very respectable 4,500 TPS, Solana is still just operating in a completely different league. This isn't just a small step up, it's a generational leap in what's possible. So, a historic stress test passed with flying colors. The performance numbers are, frankly, off the charts. But what does all of this actually mean for the future of Solana and, really, for blockchains in general? Okay, so what are the big takeaways here? First, this is undeniable proof of scalability. It confirms that Solana can handle the kind of high-demand applications that Web3 has been promising for years. Second, its resilience, proving it can stay stable under that kind of market stress. That builds enormous confidence for developers and users. And finally, it pretty clearly establishes a massive competitive advantage in raw performance. And this is why it all matters, right? It's because this stuff translates directly into real-world use cases for things like decentralized finance, for gaming, for NFTs, for any kind of high-frequency service you can think of. Having a network that you know for a fact won't buckle under pressure is a total game changer. It just opens the door for applications that were literally impossible on slower chains. Which, of course, brings us to our final, massive question. After surviving the perfect storm, after demonstrating a level of performance that just dwarfs its rivals, has Solana finally proven that it has what it takes to be the foundational backbone for the future of finance and the decentralized internet? That, right there, is the billion-dollar question that this whole stress test leaves us with.